Talk to him.
This is We Talk Back. It's Tambam.
And it's AJ.
And Dr. Donna is a sex therapist. And she's gonna talk to us about we got crazy questions for you, especially AJ.
Oh, I'm ready.
So first we want to congratulate you on your double masters and your PhD, girl. Round of applause for you, sis.
Yes, honey.
Yes, Black
girl
girl magic at its finest. For real. Talk to us and our listeners about what motivated you to get into sex therapy.
People kept telling me their business.
Well, I need to get in there then.
I mean, yeah. I'm like, people kept on telling me their business. And more than that, I felt like sex should not be a taboo because I'm looking at all the people. I'm looking like somebody had sex just so you could be here.
Facts.
So I'm just like, so why are we keeping it a secret? We celebrate pregnancies, we celebrate births, but we don't want to talk about what led to those things. Don't make any sense. I'm pro pleasure over here. So
period.
Just talking about sex just seemed like a natural, normal thing, especially as it relates to mental health and talking about it with Black women in particular. I have to talk about how colorism and texturism impact their mental and sexual health. Mm-hmm. So I got into it. I feel like in some ways I fell into it. I was very much into the mental health side of things, just wanting people to live their best life, as it were, but integrated. And I saw Meet the Fockers, and I was like, wait, is sex therapy real? So I went and looked it up, and it was. And I was like, well, all right, let me figure out where I go get some more of this education so that I can be prepared to do the work that people had already sort of thrust me in by giving me all their business.
So if I said, okay, I'm signing up today to have a sex therapy session, what does that consist of? Because am I going to be somewhere like, you going to teach me with a banana how to suck dick, or what is it like? What does it look like?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people confuse sex expert with sex therapist. Because I don't think you need any education to be, any formal institutionalized education to be a sex expert, right?
Right. Versus a sex therapist where you have to get some education, right?
I mean, honestly, it runs the gamut, depending on why you're going to sex therapy in the first place. So for some folk, it's straight sex therapy looks a lot more like, okay, we're having some issues around sex and we are trying to resolve those issues. Sometimes it's high sex drive, low sex drive. Sometimes it really is just like mechanics. And for that, I'll refer out to a sex coach.
Okay.
I can teach mechanics, but that's not my lane. And I'm just like, I'm gonna stick to my lane. Mm-hmm. But for sex therapy, more times than not, people think they need sex therapy, but that's not actually what they need. What they need is communication therapy because they don't talk to each other. So when I'm seeing particularly couples and those in relationships, it's more that they've had so many communication mishaps that they can't even communicate about sex anymore. There's a lot of pressure on it. They don't know how to engage intimately with one another outside of sex. So it's sort of rebuilding bridges and rebuilding trust and getting them back into a space where they feel like they can have the sex life that they want. Where it comes to the mechanics of it all, I mean, most of my clients don't get to the mechanics because let me tell you that they already know how to have sex that is pleasurable and great and all that for them, but it's not pleasurable because they don't know how to talk. So once we get past the communication barriers and I don't really want to have sex with you because I don't like you no more type stuff. Once we get past that, they don't actually need the mechanics talk. But if it does come down to mechanics, because I do deal in some virgins as well, they come on into sex therapy too, then we might be learning like, okay, how do you suck dick? How do you ride dick? How do you do all of these things? And at that point, it's like, all right, I need you to watch this video over here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Because usually there's other feelings that come up when they're even learning that stuff. Because they're like, oh, well, now I feel badly because, I was raised Christian, or I was raised this, I was raised that. and it goes against what I was told I'm supposed to do or what I feel like I should be allowed to do. So
Right.
now we're having a completely different discussion. It ends up being about how we think and feel about sex more than the act of sex itself. But yeah, I'm looking like I prefer people to ask Goody all the time. Goody got classes. I'm looking like you need some classes. Rideology. I'm looking like go on get you some.
So, all right, I had this boyfriend one time, and it didn't last long. And you tell me, did we need a sex therapist or a sex expert or both? So, we got along really well. Everything, like, we walk in the door, it'd be passionate. He'd be ripping me out of my clothes. We just kissing, falling all over the wall and shit. And soon as we start having sex, I mean, it's over in 2 minutes. I mean, maybe not even 2 minutes. I mean, it is over fast. And I know my pussy is really good. So I just got it at first, like, oh, maybe he just needs to get used to this magic, this sunshine I got, right? So we had sex 3 different times, and it was the same thing every time. So I'm like, all right, this is a problem because I'm not being pleased here. The foreplay is amazing, but the sex is just too short. So I sat him down and I said to him, like, all right, this is going to be an uncomfortable conversation for both of us, but I need to say these things to you because I care about you and I really like you. And I was like, before you get done, I'm just getting started. I mean, once you're done, I'm just getting started. Like, you come too fast. So he got up from the couch, walked to the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water. He didn't say, now we're just sitting there in silence. Didn't say a word. And then he took a sip of water and then he said, I ain't never had a bitch say no shit like that to me before. That was his response. And got his keys and walked out. He was so embarrassed.
Ooh, pride goeth before the fall. For me, that's sex therapy.
That's sex therapy, not sex expert, right?
Well,
or both.
I mean, I'm still a sexpert, right? And anyone who is a sex therapist is a sexpert. So it's not a one or the other in that way. Could he may have used some coaching? More than likely, yes. But some of that would be sex therapy. Some of that falls under sex therapy, period. So number one, like, what does he think he knows about sex and sexuality? How does he talk about sex and sexuality? Clearly not very well. If having someone gently give him feedback hurts that much, I'm like, then that's not the first time he heard it. He's lying.
Yeah, and do we blame him, or do we blame Tam for being honest, or do we blame the women prior to her that just let him go on thinking he was knocking the bottom out that pussy, like, you ain't doing nothing?
Ain't doing the damn thing.
I'm like, I'm so pro pleasure that we're not faking work. I'm looking like, what year is this?
That's
I'm looking like, I'm sorry, sis, but that stuff should have been left in 2009.
Do you think that
it should have been left in 2009? It should not be a thing of now. Faking it, lying, you are setting the next woman up for additional work, or the next person up for additional work, because now they got to be like, look, your sex is actually whack. It's like wiggity whack. And I think that you can learn, but whoever told you that your dick slanging skills was the best thing since sliced bread lied. Whoever told you your head game was amazing lied. And you know what? Maybe they told the truth for them, but they're not telling the truth for me. For me, this does not work. For my body, this is what my body needs. And I think that some of it is just learning, number one, that we have body diversity. And that in that body diversity, different things feel good for different people. So what you did for your last John not gonna work for this one. And you have to be okay with that.
That's so true.
That you have to know that this is like a job. When you go from one company to the next, I'm a word. I'm looking like, so you're a bank teller over at Chase, and now you want to go be a bank teller at Bank of America. The way that Bank of America does things might be different than Chase, which means that it is your job. Yes, you have some skills in bank teller stuff, but some of those things will be transferable, but you still have to learn the lay of the land that you're at.
Right.
And too many people don't want to learn the lay of the land. Instead, they have been taught that I have to know how to have sex, and that will be enough for anybody that I have sex with, as opposed to thinking how I have sex might have to change
Right.
based on who it is that I'm with and what actually feels good for them.
So men,
So I'm just
please
like, you
make
know
sure.
what? If you're gonna be that prideful, go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, like men, make sure your woman tells you it's good. Don't just assume it is. And until I tell you it's good, just assume it's not. That's how I feel. Do you think, I feel like women orgasm is like a new world. It's like a new thing. Because I'd like to think that if women didn't have the right to vote, they didn't have the right to even talk at some point. Were men ever really that concerned about a woman coming back then? I want to say,
There was a
70
time.
years ago.
Okay, that's 7 years ago. But there definitely was a time where there was a belief that you could only make a child if a woman orgasmed.
Right.
There was that belief. So they would work hard to make sure that orgasms happen. There was a time where they called it, they said like women had hysteria. And in order to treat hysteria, you give a woman an orgasm. I mean, we are in masturbation May right now.
I'll be acting
I'll be at
all
the
the
doctor
time.
every day, like, doctor, that hysteria is back
Like,
again.
oh, come on, help me out. Let me knock 1, 4, 5, 6 on out. So, I mean, thinking about sex and sexuality in that way, I'm like, yeah, there was a time where it was very focused on a woman's orgasm, but somewhere along the way, patriarchy really did a beautiful number where it's just like, well, I got mine, you should have got yours, number one. So we're moving it more into a selfish space where it's like, well, if I have an orgasm and you did it, that's your fault. So it stopped being about mutual pleasure. It started being about let me get what I can get and fuck you. So when you move into that space, it's like, well, damn. Now, that's not to say that everyone is not responsible for their orgasms, because I still believe that to be true as well. I'm like, you have a responsibility of what you need for your body to communicate it and to make sure that you get some as well. But if your partner is unwilling to sort of meet you where you are, is unwilling to change up what they're doing so that you can also experience pleasure, number one, why did you choose this whack ass person? And number 3, 4, and 5, let them go. Let that person go. Like they're not ready. They don't want to actually engage in sex with you. They're having sex to you, and that's not the same thing.
So, okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, I saw one of your videos on YouTube. You were talking about how to communicate with your partner about what you would like with sex. So
yeah, my
guy communicated that he wanted to ejaculate in my mouth. I don't like that
busting her mouth every time.
Every time. Right. Like, so he's like, he wants to finish that way. And I don't like that. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying that I haven't done it. But to me, like, that's some Valentine's Day birthday type shit. You're not just about to be slutting me out like you watching porn, like it's some porn. You know what I'm saying? I like nasty, nasty sex, but at the same time, like, no, every time I don't like that. Right. So he made a comment once and he was like, well, if you don't let me do it, no, he said, how a woman can't become a girlfriend or a wife without doing that. That's kind of manipulation a little bit. So I'm like, well, I guess I won't
little bit.
Exactly. I won't be girlfriend or wife then.
But you end up being pretty much both.
Exactly. Right. But because my thing is, why do you want to do that? Why do you want, if I'm already giving you all the head in the world, why do you then have to take it up a notch or try and push the envelope? Is it because it really feels good? Or is it because you're now trying to make me do something that I just don't want to do? So you're like, trying to force me to do something I really don't like. And if it's pleasurable for you and it's not pleasurable for me, why do you want to do it?
So different people find different things to be pleasurable. I'm all about, not knocking somebody else's thing. So don't yuck someone else's yum. For them, that is a yummy ass thing to do.
Right.
Like it makes me feel good. It feels so great. It feels like love. It feels like hugs and kisses and cookies and all that stuff. It feels like Valentine's Day every day. So for them, it may feel like that. But if for you, the thing does not feel like that, that means that you should not necessarily go extending your consent in that direction. If for you, it's more of I'll do this every now and then, but I can't commit to this all the time sort of thing, then that is the way that you do it. But if they can't respect your decision to say no, for me, that is a red ass flag. If you're like, look, I am not into this thing that you are into, and you are in a space now where you are not accepting that you do not have consent, that is a problem for me.
Well, it's not like he won't
Because
do
no
it.
one should be coercing or
Right.
manipulating or cajoling or constantly being like, do it, do it, do it, do it. You, if you loved me, you would do it. If you wanted me to marry you, you would do it, because those are forms of manipulation. Now, he can make a decision for himself. If he's saying that that is a boundary,
Right.
that he will not marry somebody who does not swallow, or at the very
Every
least,
time.
who won't catch them kids, even if it's not
Grow
about, spitting and
babies.
swallowing, then he gets to make that decision
Right.
for himself. For him, that could be the line in the sand.
Right.
What people tend to do is try to draw boundaries against other people's gardens. I'm looking like, no, your boundaries are for you. Your boundaries are not for others. So saying like, well, then you can't be over here if you won't do this. I'm like, this is what I need. I see that you are unable to meet my needs,
Right.
which means that we are not actually compatible. I hope that is okay that we part ways at this time.
Yeah,
It's as
because we would
simple as
have
that.
good sex and all that. So that's just the one other thing. And yeah, I don't think that anybody should, if that's your boundary and you're not saying, no, you can't do this, I'll do it every once in a while. I don't think it's something that should happen all the time just because you say so.
Absolutely nothing. I'm like, what works like that other than jobs?
Right.
Right. And then you be ready to
And
quit
look,
them
if you
too.
put some money, if you put some monetary
Exactly.
value behind it now, maybe you can pay me to do it. I don't know.
I'm like, hey, pay to play.
That's a whole different episode right
Exactly.
there.
Hey, but is it? Is it though? I'm looking like people already in a lot of ways paying to play,
Right.
but we are asking people for emotional commitments to go with the sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll trade you sex for some emotional commitment. I'll trade you this for that. I'm looking like, look, in the end of the day, everybody's selling something to somebody for something.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's about making sure that your needs are met and their needs are also being met. We're talking about just being in a space of mutual respect, as well as some level of reciprocity. Everybody is looking for something.
Right.
And it's not about like, oh, you hold yourself out. I mean, technically you do that at work. You sell your body so that you can make money. Same
Right.
shit. I mean, and on top of that, didn't Jasmine Sullivan already tell us this? We listen to hotels.
Right.
Like, whole hot ass album. I'm like, we already know everybody's doing something for something.
Period. So on our show, we had conversations about open marriages and polygamy. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like polygamy and open marriage? Are you?
Polyamory, polygamy, or however it is that someone wants to live their life is not really my business. That's number one. That's what I believe. I believe that you should actually live your best life. And I have found that some of the most stable relationships that I see in therapy and that I see from, some of the folks that I rock with are actually made up of 3 individuals or more.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have communication with your partner. None of that, well, you should know. None of that stuff. It's actually, I talk about the things that I need in my relationship and I have my needs met. It also means that, when you're with somebody and they have a whole different set of sex acts that they want to do, but you like, oh, hell no. Your third person, that person might be the one to be like, yeah.
Right.
Now look at that. Everybody
Like, he
needs
can get somebody who's
everybody's
multi can come in.
Exactly. Because it's just like, I think oftentimes we think that everybody, whoever that we're with, whoever our romantic partner is, should meet every single need that we have. And that is unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you don't get everything you need from one friend, you have a bunch of different friends, right? You're like, oh, well, this one I could talk to about this type of stuff because she's more receptive. This one I could talk to about this stuff because he's more cool with that. And this one I could talk about this because this is the thing, this is their lane. Mm-hmm. You can't talk about everything with everybody. So why do you expect your partner to now be the end all be all for everything that you could possibly need in a relationship? If we take romantic relationships off the damn pedestal because they do not belong up there and put them in par with the other friendships and other types of relationships that we have, we will see that we are just meeting various needs that we have with various people. Mm-hmm. And if we do the same thing within romantic spaces, we can have all of our needs met. So I think that it is very traditional, in a sense, very Christian traditional to say one man, one woman in particular. But I'm like,
It's not
if
realistic.
that's not what you're rocking with, that's not what you're rocking with. So for some people, it's very realistic. I think that
So
I think
what
there's a
you
lot of
rocking with?
diversity.
What you rocking
I'm
with?
rocking with what I rock with.
Oh,
I
I saw you about to get
rock with.
married. I was trying to dig in there, girl. Let's see.
I am about to get married.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you, thank you. But for me and Mr. Boo thing, that's you know, a space where we navigate what it is that we are wanting in our relationship. In a lot of ways, some people would say that we're not traditional couple, just because of like earnings and who has more time, who's doing this, who's doing that. Some people would say that he was in a wrong space to choose a woman who doesn't want to have children. I am that woman. I don't want to have children. Maybe I'll change my mind, maybe I won't. But in this here moment, no, I'm quite all right on that. So, I mean, this is us cultivating the life that we want. And as a therapist, my job, I'm just like, well, what kind of life do you actually want to have?
Right.
A lot more clients are now, they are playing more around with like the idea of opening up relationships. They are even exploring their own sexuality, because so many people, I mean, a lot of us were brought up in you got to be straight type rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not straight. I'm like, yes, I'm with a dude, but that doesn't change my identity from being what I am to just because he's a dude. That don't, I'm looking like, how that work? I'm looking like, what's next? Transracial? I'm not. So I think that in building the life that you want to have for yourself, you have to be, number one, cognizant of who you are and be willing to question that every day.
Mm-hmm.
What we know about ourselves right now in this moment is going to change, right? Every time you learn something, every time you have
Become a
a
hypocrite.
conversation, somebody's seed
Mm-hmm.
of something, you know, it takes plant. You start thinking about it. You want to learn more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can change your mind. And that's, I mean, if you're even going to be in a relationship, being able to grow together is part of it. And I think that people forget the part where you grow. And sometimes that growth may grow apart. Sometimes you grow closer together, but being able to determine for yourself where it is that you want to go, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I'm open for people who are poly. I'm down for people who are not. I'm like, if you want to be monogamous, great. If you're not monogamous, also great. It's really about you doing what's best for you in your relationship.
Absolutely.
I agree. So let me ask you this, because I masturbate a lot, because I don't have like a regular, like I don't have a consistent sex partner right now in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I masturbate a lot. Am I fucking up my clitoris for when I do have a man?
No, you got to DJ on your own stuff.
But I use like toys and stuff like that, and I just concerned that like I'm like fucking my clitoris up.
Desensitizing it.
Yeah, is that a
Nope.
thing? No,
It's
I'm
not
good.
a thing, but a lot of people think that, right? So really, it's just like, number one, yes. Can you temporarily numb the area? Yeah, but it'll also bounce back. So if it's like, oh, I can't feel anything, then maybe lay off of it for a couple of days and it'll come right back and everything will be good all over again. But the idea that you can over masturbate or that you can desensitize your clitoris, that stuff is just built in lies. I be wondering where people like, I'm like, yo, this is some beautiful lies.
Men make it up.
Because I think they're trying to stop you from giving yourself pleasure. Because if you can make yourself orgasm harder than they can, then maybe they start feeling some type of way.
Exactly. That's why they be hating on vibrators and shit.
Yeah, I'm looking like, who got time to hate on vibrators? They are there to help you.
Yeah, I might
let them do their job.
Pack it and bring it to your house. Suck on my titties while I do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Exactly. Little mutual masturbation. 'Tis the month for it all. Like, do it.
I have a friend who considers like her husband masturbating as cheating.
That's a business.
Is that not? I don't see it as cheating. Do you see it as? I guess it's just, it depends on the parameters of your marriage.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the parameters of your own relationship. I would urge them to think about why. Why do you see your partner touching their own body as a form of cheating? What about it feels threatening to you? I've even done a couple of videos on this on my Instagram, because I talk about this type of stuff every May. When I start talking about masturbation May, somebody slides into my DMs and they're just like, is it cheating if I masturbate? And I'm just like, I don't know. You got to tell me what your relationship
maybe
is.
she feels that way because if he's not fucking her, and then you're in the bathroom every Tuesday or every day at 6:00 beating your dick, and you're not fucking me, that's the problem. If I am wanting and willing to have sex with you, but you rather please yourself, that's a sex therapist issue, right? We need to come to
Right.
It very well could be a sex therapist issue. I have seen that issue come up. For me, I'm more like, I think that number one, you should be able to masturbate to your heart's content, because sometimes masturbation is not necessarily about the thing that we think it's about, right? So it's not always about the sexual piece of it. Sometimes it's just, I need pleasure. Sometimes it's just, I need a release. Sometimes it's more about your mental health than it is about the physical need, right? So you should be able to do the things that work best for you, for your mental health and for your general well-being. And for some people, masturbation is it. And it's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So to me, it is it. I'm looking like, it really is. It just runs the gamut there. But if you're feeling like you're not getting the sex that you want, but your partner is masturbating and you are not included, number one, that's a conversation to be had.
Mhm.
See if you can insert yourself into their masturbatory practices. Like, hey, can I join you? Can I watch? Can I suck the titties while you do that? Can I caress you while you do that? Being able to just bring each other together. Like, can we masturbate together? A little mutual can I masturbate you? Like, let me get involved in the masturbatory practice here. That is one way to sort of see if you can bridge the gap. And I would be wondering what's going on in your relationship that your partner does not want to have sex with you. So you worried about the sex. I'm looking like I'm worried about what else is going on in your relationship.
So then that's
because if they don't want to have sex with you,
right. So that's my thing. So
I mean, that's not to say something is wrong,
right.
but something could be wrong and you are completely unaware of it.
Yeah. So for
Right.
me, intimacy, and I think for a lot of women, intimacy starts in the mind. Like, I want you to love on me all day long, not just right before you want to fuck me when we get into bed at night. So if we're constantly having disagreements, we're constantly arguing. And I feel like being in love is a state of mind. So you have to do things to continuously keep falling in love with your mate, because it's easy to fall out of love. And then you could fall back in love with that same person, or you might go outside the relationship, right? So we're constantly arguing and you still want sex, even after argument. Sometimes men, they don't care. Like, I have to be happy to have sex. So we're constantly arguing and I'm mad. I don't want to have sex. Don't touch me. And no, we're not right now physically in an argument, but I'm still pissed. And I don't want you touching me. And if I let you do it, it's kind of rapey because I didn't want to do it in the first place. Now I'm just doing something because you want to do it, because I don't want my man to go to someone else for it, but I'm pissed at the same time.
I like mad sex.
I want to say, I hate that rhetoric.
I like
That rhetoric, that piece
Stroke
where
that
it's
nigga.
like, if you won't do it, somebody else will.
Right.
I was like, then go.
Well,
Then
see,
go. If you're gonna threaten me, you can go.
that's
Goodbye.
not the time I'm
Go
on.
get it from them. And you know what? Go get the rest of your relationship from them while you at it.
Pretty much.
Goodbye. Bye. Peace. Deuces. Don't come back and fuck you. That's a me thing.
See, Tam, she thinks it's cool to start arguments so she can have makeup sex. I don't like that shit. Don't start arguing with me, because you're going to be fucking yourself for a month playing with me.
Why you gotta tell my business?
Toxiana. That's why. Tell him, sex therapist. Dr. Oriowo.
All right. Sometimes
Ooh,
I
you
might
picking fights.
like start a little friction just so we can have that kind of like forceful, angry sex. Sometimes is that bad?
Why don't y'all just role play?
I feel like
Role play don't work.
it's not real. The anger ain't real.
Oh, shoot! If it works for you and your partner,
I
I
guess it did, because me and that nigga ain't together no more. So I guess it didn't work. But that shit used to be fun.
I would want to explore, like, what is it about sort of that angry, forceful sex that you like, that you enjoy? What pieces or what elements of that can be taken out that doesn't require you getting into arguments with them in order to sort of facilitate that? And how else might they even be able to sort of fake it till they make it? Because I mean, even actors have said that, you know, like sometimes they get so deep into the daggone role, it's hard to get back out. I mean, Heath Ledger killed himself off that, right?
Right.
Like getting into the psychology of what it would be like. I think it was the role of the Joker. Like got
Right.
so deep into it. And I think that with role playing, you start to try and embody some of those emotions as much as you can. And I'm not saying that everybody's is a great actor or actress or whatever, but that you can still get some of the stuff that you're looking for. Like they might be angry about something that happened at work. They might be willing to come through.
Right.
Like I got a little anger for you, want some? Like you ain't got to pick no fight with me. I was mad at my boss.
Beat it up.
I got boss level anger. Come on, come get this. But AJ, back to what you were saying, like about like, you know, wanting different types of intimacy. This book right here, Use Your Mouth, by Shamira Howard. This book is it's amazing. You know, like it's small, it's pocket sized for your convenience, but it talks about 7 different types of intimacy, and it ends with sexual intimacy, because for a lot of people, yeah, they do need those other pieces in order to feel like they can have the type of sex that feels good and connected for them. And you're right, some people be like, we are not on the same page. You can keep your hands off my body. My body is mine. I'm not willing to share
like,
this.
You don't got to do nothing. Just lay there. Like, how is that pleasurable for me? Like, first of all, you don't know how it feels to be penetrated, right? And then on top, me not even liking you right now. The hell?
Like, yeah, some people will say any daggone thing. I just feel like, oh, so you want to masturbate, but with my body,
right?
Because that's what it sounds like.
And to me, like sex,
like, you know, if you're not interested in my participation and you're just interested in getting a nut, you could have done that with some lotion in your hands. Like, go on, have some fun. You can do it as many times as you like, and you don't have to involve me. You can go get yourself a pocket pussy. Go get yourself whatever toy it is that you need so that you can have some enjoyment. But right now, my body is off limits,
right?
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And if you're not gonna be okay with that, like I said, I'm all about get the hell on.
I bought my nigga a pocket pussy one time, for real. Like I bought him one because he was military and he was deployed. So I sent it in a care package with some Doritos and shit. A little piece of pussy and some Doritos.
Them girls be selling pussy in the military, girl. Them girls be abroad selling pussy. The few women. Just sit right there.
All right, so let's get into colorism and texturism. You wrote a book, Cocoa Butter and Hair Grease: A Self-Love Journey Through Hair and Skin. Tell us about the book and what prompted you to create it.
The book is a workbook. It's a 12-week plus workbook, really to get you thinking about your skin tone, your hair texture, the messages that you've received about them, and how those messages impact you at work, with your family, with lovers, and sort of breaking out of what those messages were so that you can replace them with messages that feel better and more affirming for you. And of course, it has a really dope feelings chart in it. Had that jump created because, you know, finding a feelings chart with Black folk is difficult. So then we also decided we were just going to put some Black ass feelings in it. Like, oh, I'm feeling myself. I wish a bitch would is an emotion. It is an emotion. In my opinion, it is.
It is.
And the fuck is also in there. Like, the fuck? It's also an emotion, the way I see it.
Right.
But it was created because there's a couple of clients in particular that ended up being like a lot of the basis for it. So before, it was just a bunch of little sheets and homeworks that I gave them. And I told somebody that I had created a bunch of worksheets and things, and they were like, you should put it in a book. And I said, And I had the whole thing basically outlined and mapped out in my Google Drive. And somebody was like, yeah, she's writing a book. And I was like, what? She done told everybody. I'm looking like it done ended up on Therapy for Black Girls that I'm writing a book. I was like, I wasn't, but I guess I will now.
Right.
I ain't gonna turn nobody no liar. So I had the worksheets translated and you know, done into something that was a little bit prettier and bound together. But one of the clients was just like, I'm dark, I'm fat, and I'm nappy. Who the fuck gonna want me? And this was part of the justification for staying in an abusive relationship. That well, who else is going to want me? I have to accept what I got. And we have to keep in mind that, like, people say that all the time, though, right? And we've already normalized it. So we'll be like, oh, they acting real light skinned. What does that mean? When we say, oh, they acting light skinned, you need to remember what color you are. You acting light skinned. Oh, dark skinned women are not allowed to have standards. Only light skinned women are allowed to have standards. Only light skinned women are allowed to say stuff. You have people on Beyonce's internet, on Kelly's internet, on y'all's internet. I don't know if you checked your internet lately, but people are talking on your internet, talking about some, well, I like dark-skinned girls because I can hit her and ain't gonna leave no marks.
Oh, wow.
What the hell?
Like,
I never seen that on my internet.
Rhetoric.
That's terrible.
Like, people say all kinds of things and they justify all kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just a couple of weeks ago that Makia was murdered by the police, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the things that people had to say, because, oh, well, she deserved it because she had a knife and she's this and she's that. I'm looking like, you hear yourself when you talk, or you just be saying shit.
Right.
But people will use people's skin tone, their hair texture, to justify why they should or should not be in a relationship, who they think they can and cannot pull, and especially when you add in body size, like, it just becomes this whole big ass thing where I feel like dark skinned people are consistently being gaslit into believing that their experience is not their experience. So somebody has to talk to dark skinned people, and I decided it was going to be me.
Okay.
I know there's
Because what we don't need is
Right.
more light skinned people telling us how we feel. I'm looking like, to me, it's akin to seeing white folk talk about racism. I'm like, that's great, but you to your people, that's fine. But don't be out here being the representative for all things.
Right.
Your people started this nonsense, and I think you need to fall back. Like, let's
Right.
put marginalized voices to the front. Like, you can't be the face of this movement. And as much as I love hearing from light-skinned folk who talk about colorism and texturism, I'm looking like there are a lot of dark-skinned people that you don't hear who also talk about this, who will never be on the same programming, who will never be at the front. I don't know if you follow on Instagram, Sex with Ashley. I think it was in the last couple weeks or so that they mentioned that, like, yo, how many dark-skinned people can you name who have a large platform in the field of sexuality? Don't worry, I'll wait. People have names that come to mind when they think about sexuality, and it ain't usually as dark-skinned folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually a lot. You can name light-skinned people right off the top of your head, and I'm not gonna say no names, but you can name so many of them off the top of your head because
I see what you talk
colorism,
about.
it permeates everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But no one wants to admit that colorism continues to be a problem. I'm looking like when someone as dark as I or Ashley gets chosen to be up front to have a conversation with somebody, you know, for a lot of people, it does end up being a surprise. It's like, oh, well, how did you get chosen?
Right.
I thought they might be going for a different look.
Mm.
You know,
but how people talk about your skin tone and your hair texture impacts your sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts your mental health for sure. And it impacts your relationships, because how have we been taught to sort of pursue an American dream, as it were, right? We're told that we should go for the 2-level home. You want the fine, tall husband. You want the children that do like this. You want 2.5 children. I never know how you have 0.5 of a kid, but you're supposed to have 2.5 children and a dog. Meanwhile, we forget what it looks like too. We are cultivated, we are grown up in this idea that we're supposed to be trying to go for this white life.
Mm-hmm.
So people end up looking for light-skinned partners.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'll have sex with you, but I won't wife you. You're not exactly what I was thinking. I want more of a trophy wife for my wife. Well, what does it mean to be a trophy wife? Light skin, long hair, small waist, big tits.
I think a lot of times, guys,
we are looking for an aspirational look, as well as for the other stuff.
The women they didn't have access to, like throughout elementary, high school, like those are the women they're going after now, especially when they get the bag. you trying to buy the bitch you could
Mhm.
never get when they do that.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's not new.
no, absolutely not.
That's an old ass concept. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about like 1900s. It's
Mm-hmm.
old as hell.
Yep.
If
Right.
you like, when you get the bag, you get the thing that you feel like you can. So like part of my research in doing my dissertation was around colorism as well as texturism, and it was an exchange. Like, I have money and you have the light
The
skin, so
beauty.
we exchange your beauty for
Mm-hmm.
my money, and we now come together and we create these lighter kids who also have access to money, who we then encourage to get somebody with money who is also lighter. So we are,
And
in a lot of
it
ways, we
all
end
comes
up
from insecurities.
participating in our own ethnic
Right.
whitening.
It comes from a place of insecurity because it's like some men will go out of their way to make sure they don't create a child that looks like them. So you're so insecure,
It,
you're afraid to replicate yourself. And it's sad.
and not even just insecure, right? So I feel like it's what white supremacy has given us.
Mm-hmm.
It has told us that in order for you to survive, to thrive, really, that you have to look a certain way. So a lot of people are like, look, I have been hurt, I've had people call me names. I mean, I know for me, like African booty scratcher, that was, one of the things. Oh, when I turn off the lights, you disappear. Like, when you
Mhm.
hear these type of things, you're just like, I don't want my child to go through that. So now
Mm,
here you are looking for a partner who is going to help you produce offspring that won't look like that.
I think that's what Kodak
People are
Black.
doing, and whether or
Yeah.
not it's on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
or whether or not it's done
Subconscious.
subconsciously, we're still end up sort of participating in it, because it's like, well, light skinned people are more likely to get the job. Facts on that. They're more likely to get paid more for the job. Facts on that. Less likely to go to jail for the very same crimes that a dark skinned person commits. Facts on that. Or get less time in jail for the same thing. So facts on that. And if you are able to pass for white, or white enough, like that,
Mhm.
like black people could tell, but white people can't.
Ambiguous looking.
There are more opportunities. There are more different opportunities. There are privileges that come with having lighter skin. Whether or not people with light skin want to admit to said privileges is beyond the point. I'm like white people don't admit to their privileges neither. That don't mean the shit don't exist.
Right.
So there are privileges that come with it, and sometimes people just want to make sure that their children have access to those privileges. So, on purpose or not, we end up whitening our bloodline so that they can have access. And that's not just America. That's
Yes.
worldwide.
Yeah, because even in India, like you have the untouchables. Those are the people, like the darker skinned Indian people. They call them the
Mhm.
untouchables. So it's the same thing. It's all white supremacy as far as I'm concerned. Like the more fair complected you are.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, it's not just in black communities. I remember I was working in Sephora. I was doing doing makeup in Sephora, and they had a busload of Asian women that were just visiting, and they were getting makeup, and I had to color match them. And here we go a little bit darker than our tone. We want to look a little tan. Them Asian ladies were so mad that I was putting that tan color on them that they didn't want to buy anything. They wanted whiter makeup. So I went and did some research on it, and it was a symbol of status to be lighter because you're not out in the fields with
mm,
rice and picking,
Mhm.
harvesting rice or doing things like that. So they would only want to be lighter complected. So I think
And
that's
that used
just
to be the main reason. And then white supremacy came in, and we put white on top, and that's worldwide. So then it moved away from just being about your class. It now started being about
right.
race and ethnicity, of being able
Mhm.
to identify who's better
Right.
than who. So it's not being just about, oh, well, the working class is out there and that's why they get
Mm-hmm.
darker. It still has some elements of that, but it's about, oh, well, white people dominate. They are the default. They are the ones that make the most money.
Mm-hmm.
They get the
Mhm.
most opportunity, and if I want access, I have to do this.
Right.
This is why bleaching is a thing. This is why so many people bleach. Like, in America, maybe we don't talk about it as much. We mostly talk about it like a little while ago. People were, maybe a year or so ago, people were talking about, I think it was Black China, and how
Yes.
she gotten lighter from the bleaching craze. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking like, how can you spend all your time telling somebody that they dark as shit, and then telling them that their worth is less because they are dark, and then simultaneously be mad at them because they
For
whiten
lightning.
themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Like
I'm just
Sammy
like,
Sosa.
oh, you want them to be naturally lighter, and it's similar with the natural hair community. It's like, yes, I want you to have natural hair, but I want you to have natural hair that is naturally straighter, naturally wavier, looser curls, and naturally long. So it's like, no, I don't want the kinky natural hair. I want this natural hair. I don't want that type of light skin. I want this type of light skin. And it becomes such a huge problem. So I mean, everyone tends to mention India when we're talking about skin lightening. Nigeria is number one,
Yeah.
not India.
No, I wasn't
And
saying
I'm
like
looking
they
like,
lighten more. I'm just saying like the darker skinned
yeah,
Indians are,
no,
discriminated
I
against.
wasn't saying that that's what you were saying. I'm saying that
Okay.
that's what other folks
Okay.
tend to. They be like, oh yeah, like India, they do skin light. I'm looking like, no,
Everybody.
number one is Nigeria, and it's really a worldwide phenomenon. And
The Caribbean.
honestly, we don't have the
Jamaicans,
level
yeah,
of
they do a lot of.
critical. Yeah, there's not a lot of critical analysis of even who's selling the bleaching creams in the first place, right? So Dove on this
Now
end
listen.
in America will tell you how beautiful you are, but their company Unilever sells bleaching creams over there. So I'm just like, well, am I pretty or not?
Right. I wanted to talk about Urban Skin X because listen, this is just right quick. Tam was using Urban Skin X, right? So I was like, she said she
Tam
loved
still
it, so I
uses it.
started buying it. And then one day I was eating a piece of like the shroom candy. It was a candy bar with shrooms in it, basically.
You're doing drugs.
I was on drugs, right? And then I was having all these thoughts, right? And I'm cleaning my face at the time. I'm like, this shit is made by a white woman in Charlotte, North Carolina, who's supposedly a melanin expert. Is it really good for me to be using this? What the fuck is in it? It has to be some bullshit in it, because how is a white woman a melanin expert? So the people who are pushing like the skin lightening creams, who the fuck is it? What's in it?
That shit worked good for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying it doesn't work good on the surface, but what kind of poisons are in it that could affect you internally is what I'm saying. Y'all, I don't have faith in
So
people.
would you question it if a black woman was making it? Would you question if there was poisons in it?
No, I just wouldn't. No, I'm not going to be.
But that's real. That's a real ass answer, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That you wouldn't.
I use Coochie Cake. One of my Charlestonians, she has a company. She has like soaps and stuff for the vag. Coochie Cakes. Yeah, I would buy that before I buy something off the shelf, because I know she made it in her home. It's natural things. But something mass produced for the black community by a white person, it can't be good. That's what I think. I don't know. It's just me.
I don't know. My skin is flourishing. I don't know.
When that baby come out,
what works for one person doesn't work for the other person. But I definitely understand what you mean, AJ. Like, some people have said, and similar things. It's like, well, can I trust this company with my skin, with my body, by using their product? Especially for sometimes a lot of these companies are misrepresenting themselves. Their companies now are wearing blackface and selling so that they can access black dollars. And I'm just like, at that point, hey, you got to do what you got to do, what's best for you in that moment. Like, does the product work for you? Is it a product that you want to use? If it works, it works. You go for the thing that works best for you. Like, I buy some of my products are Lush products. I know that they are naturally made. I know that they're all about the environment and all this other stuff, and making sure that they pay people fair wages for fair work, which, that's some of my additional research. But I'm like, I supplement with other things from black companies that I trust. I don't never have to look that deep into no black company, to be quite honest. I don't. But I use Oyin Handmade. I use TGIN. I use them because I'm like, oh, I know you're black owned. I know that you push about organic and fair trade and all that other stuff. I'm just like, all right, cool. I know that if a company is listed on, there's this one website, gosh, I can't remember the name of it right now, but if it's listed on that website, I'm like, all right, we good, because I know what that company is about and what they will and will not put on their website. But finding the thing that works best for your skin, I'm like, hey, you got to do what's good for you. But I do worry that sometimes people do put skin bleaching creams and things like that as an ingredient, and we just don't know it. So if it says, oh, it tones your skin, it also it lightens your skin. And being okay with that, like, yes, they'll say it's a dark spot corrector, but fixing the dark spot usually requires some sort of skin bleaching. And a lot of people will say they're toning their skin, which is coded language to say I'm lightening my skin.
Right. So I want to get into texturism because there's a lot of isms out here, but I never realized that texturism was a thing. So I always make jokes that, you know, if all Black women had like loose, like how this hair looks, right? This nice Indian bundles, I'm gonna be selling soon anyway. So if all Black women had like hair like this, because I think men love hair, like they want to be able to touch our hair and they can't. Right? A lot of times they can't just rub their fingers through our natural hair and touch our scalp. I always make a joke that if all Black women had long curly hair, we would like our men wouldn't be going outside the community because they're so in love with hair. But we wear weave, or, you know, if you have 4C hair like I do, like you're not just sticking your fingers to that.
No, I got that 4C myself.
It might be in between though.
Not for me. I mean, for me and my partner, I'm like, go put your hands in there. I'll fix the fro later. Like, come on. Because I personally, I don't like to divorce myself from that bit of pleasure that comes with someone playing in your hair, someone, you know, massaging your scalp, or even, especially within sex acts. I'm looking like, there's so many beautiful nerve endings right there. I'm just like, I don't deny myself any of those things. But I mean, this idea of touchable hair, it usually grew for me. I remember like those herbal essences commercials growing up where they'd be like, yes, yes, yes. And you're supposed to have this wavy long hair, and it's supposed to be shiny and movable and all that other stuff. And the advertising of sex hair or bed hair, and it's supposed to be this sexy sort of hair that happens when you have naturally straight hair. I think that for a lot of it is just we need to rewrite the scripts. Natural hair is not unattractive. Natural hair is not unmanageable. Natural hair is not even any more difficult to manage. But because most of us have learned how to manage straight hair, we think of our own hair as being unmanageable. I'm like, no, your hair won't do the thing that you're trying to make it do that straight hair does, which is not the same thing as saying that your hair is unmanageable.
Right.
I don't know how to manage it. Sounds more accurate.
Right.
Like, it's not unmanageable. You just don't know how to manage it. There's a difference in language there.
Right, because you're trying to make it do something that it's not supposed to do.
Exactly. I'm looking like, how am I supposed to get a messy bun? I can't get no messy. I can't wake up and just gather my natural hair and just stick it in some sort of messy bun. I'm looking like, look, that's not my life. My hair don't do that. I know that I need water and a brush. If
right.
I want it up there,
your bun will just look a mess. It won't be a messy bun.
But even then, letting that be okay. But we get caught up, and this is, you know, again, a product of white supremacy that says that Black people are subferior, you know, that they're inferior to white folk, and that we have to work twice as hard to make ourselves presentable, to be acceptable in space. So we are constantly, I think, in a lot of ways, erasing pieces of who we are in order to meet that. I mean, it was a couple of years ago that H&M had the little girl with the same sort of messy hair that the other people had, but she had a different hair texture, and people got up in arms. And I'm just like, your trauma is showing. Go put that away. That's her hair.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be about kids at play.
How they do Blue Ivy. Yeah, same thing. Well, how they were doing her.
I'm just like, yeah, now that her hair is long and flourishing, they're okay. Because we like it when hair sticks to some level of Eurocentric standards. We want the hair to be long. We want the hair to be straighter. We want the hair to constantly be done. And I'm just like, nobody is constantly together, but we feel like we have to constantly put on. I'm looking like we're so used to code switching. We code switch with our hair. We code switch with our clothes. We do it with our voices. We got our white voice when we answer the phone. I mean, we're doing all of this stuff all the time. And I'm just like, number one, it's exhausting. And number two, it tends to lead to certain levels of anxiety and depression because you're separating yourself from yourself. I'm just like, my hair is my hair. I have been on all over the internet with my hair looking a whole hot mess. as other people have said it was. I was like, oh, it felt soft that day, and I kept doing this, and that's why my fro was all messed up. And I'm like I kept touching it. Like, that's why it looked like this. Oh, I just woke up and I did like this, and that was my hair for the day. I'm like, at some point, we have to learn to like what is already ours. And the way that your hair grows out of your hair, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just society's view of what is considered to be acceptable and not acceptable. And society's view is white supremacist as fuck. There's not very much that Black people can do to be considered acceptable. You have to change almost everything about who you are in order for someone to say that you're acceptable. And just acceptable, not desirable, not the best, you just barely met the bar.
Right.
And I personally feel like that's an exhausting existence.
Yeah.
And being able to purposefully love on everything that you are, I mean, that takes a little bit more work, but if you can do it,
absolutely.
I mean, you will be more free. You will feel better, and I think
you'll be more whole.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some more sex before you go. Because that shit getting too deep, man. Listen.
Like, got a back check.
How important? What you said? Sorry.
Well, we gotta do our dumb bitch story.
Oh.
All right. So no, we gotta ask you. All right, we have a segment called Dumb Bitch Story, right? And it's just, we've all been the dumb bitch once or twice in our life for whatever reason. Can you think of a time where you felt like, damn, I was stupid?
I feel like there are several times where I'm like, damn, that was dumb. That was dumb. Oh, goodness. See, don't put me on the spot. I like that.
Well, you think I'm gonna read one from a listener who sent theirs in, and we can discuss theirs. And if you come up with one, you can share it at the end. All right. So listen to this. This is from Megan. I was riding in the car with my boyfriend. We were on the way to the beach. His phone rang and he didn't recognize the number, so he answered. When he answered, he had the audacity to be laughing and giggling and shit. So I'm in the passenger seat getting pissed off. He hangs up the phone and I go off. I'm asking him who he was talking to and he ignores me. That pissed me off even more. So to get his attention, I grabbed the steering wheel and accidentally turned it, and we ran off the road and we went into the embankment. Long story short, the police came and it was his mom who was actually on the phone and was calling from a different number, not another girl. He called his friend to pick him up and he left me with my car on the side of the interstate with AAA and the police. Now he won't answer my calls. What can I do to get my nigga back? What can she do, y'all?
Your whole ass.
You showed your whole ass.
Your whole ass. I'm
Grab the
like,
steering
if
wheel.
you are with a person that you don't trust,
yes,
you gonna run both of y'all asses off the fucking road to prove a point.
Literally and figuratively.
Okay.
She trying to run them off the road.
Like, you could have died, sis. You could have died. Listen, anybody who thinks that's cute to grab the steering wheel to get a nigga attention, don't do that. Don't do that. It's never that serious. You don't deserve him back. Yeah. You don't deserve him back.
And then you could possibly go to jail and he's still gonna be fucking bitches out here. Dumb bitch.
Like, ooh.
Yeah, you were definitely a dumb bitch. Like, that was very jealous.
I'm just like, that was not the move at all. I'm just like, what did you get from that? You put your own car in an embankment and now you gotta pay AAA and now you got, I'm like, oh no.
And now he done left.
No. Hell to the no.
Yeah. Sorry, sis. That was definitely, you are a dumb bitch for that. Hopefully you've learned your lesson and you don't deserve him back. You don't. You just got to find somebody else and be better.
And the thing is, he still might not, he still might be an ain't shit dude. He still may not be shit himself. I'm just like, but if you're feeling that insecure in a relationship, maybe you have a conversation, maybe you leave, but definitely we're not running ourselves off the damn road.
Lied.
Just a goddamn fool. You crazy.
We need to get a "you are a dumb bitch" drop.
No, that's not even. That might be a crazy bitch, not a dumb bitch. You a crazy.
You are
bitch.
A crazy dumb bitch.
I'm just like, woo, you didn't think that one through. Did not think it through.
So you don't have a story?
Yeah, I don't have no stories,
Okay.
anything on that level.
Look, she's
Not on that
about
level.
to get married, child. She ain't trying to put her business out here anyway.
Right. So, all right. Last question.
I mean, my dumb bitch moment's more like
That's
I
not
be
the
on
last
phone
question.
looking
She ain't
like,
gonna
where
do
the
it.
hell is my phone?
An hour.
Like, hold on, I gotta go find my phone. I'm on it. My bad. That was all right. Cool. I just had a moment.
All right. Final question. You've accomplished so much. What's next that we can expect for Dr. Oriowo?
Ooh. Well, I am currently writing a book
Okay.
on self-esteem for Black women. We're gonna see how that go because I'm busy. I feel like I'm team doing too much sometimes. So I guess that's what you can expect to see next.
Okay.
Another
That book,
book.
we're going to be looking for it. We're going to be looking for that for sure.
Look, I've been trying to write a
Another
book
book.
since 2011, so maybe we can challenge each other. I've been trying to write a book.
And get this done.
Instruction guide to the Black man is what I've been trying to write, but I need a lot of research with some shit like that. So I've been out here fucking niggas and trying to figure shit out. Trying to get some primary data.
No, you really should. You should focus on that, AJ. I really want to see that book come from you. And Dr. Oriowo, I would love to get that book about
Yes,
self-esteem.
honey.
We need that. We need both of them. So y'all get the word.
Absolutely. I'm like, I'm gonna peep that book. So when you finna be done?
I don't know.
Right.
We can challenge each other. Maybe I'll finish it this year. I'll just say that. It'll be 2021.
Okay. I got 2 chapters down. I got 10 more chapters to go. I had already outlined the book. So I really gotta get the writing is. If I can do like a chapter a month, I can be done.
Yeah, you got it.
Sometime next year.
You got it.
And one more time, the name of the book that you already have out so our listeners can go purchase it.
It is Cocoa Butter and Hair Grease, a self-love journey through hair and skin. It's available on Amazon. I think it might be on Barnes & Noble. And it's you can also get it from my website, cocoabutterandhairgrease.com.
Hey.
Is there coloring in it? Because if it's some coloring in there, I'm going to get it.
There's a couple coloring pages up in here.
Oh, bitch, I'm sold. I'm going to get it.
I'm like,
there's a couple.
Because I like to color too. There's a couple crosswords, some coloring pages. Yeah, I was just like, oh yeah.
Oh yes,
I want to buy it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it.
Like, yes, colorful afro.
Show them the front of it because we're gonna put this video up. So there you go, y'all. See, I can go
this is my raggedy copy. Yours won't have this.
I'm gonna buy this for my friends. That's a good gift to give.
And honestly, it's great for friends in particular to just go through it together because so many friendships end up, still being based on colorism and texturism themselves. It's just like, oh well, the reason nobody wants to date you is because you frowning. Stop frowning. It's like, no, they don't want to date me because I'm dark skinned and I'm surrounded by light skinned people and they like y'all better. I'm like, it's okay.
I got some badass dark skinned friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I got some bad.
Absolutely. But like, remember what I said, like light skin ends up being aspirational for people's relationships. So it doesn't matter how bad the chick is. Sometimes it doesn't even matter how talented they are. Look at the music industry. Some of the most talented people are dark-skinned people and do not get anywhere near the same play that the light-skinned folk do.
Yeah.
It's part of the music industry. It's part of the fabric of American culture. So I'm like, yeah, you can be bad. You can be all that in a bag of chips. You can have everything in life going for you. But if somebody is only checking for light skin Johns, you are not going to be it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're lost.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're lost.
Absolutely.
We really, 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 really appreciate you pulling up on us.
This was a great episode.
Yes.
Yeah, we enjoyed you.
Thank
you gotta
for
come back.
Me.
When you get that second book together, come on back and let's talk about it. Okay?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.